Thank you, thank you. If I'm looking like I'm leaving from some orifices someplace, the TCU just got beat down in that last Georgia game. I'm still suffering. I got bruises all over the place, and I was watching it from my living room. And I had TCU in the overline. So I won the over and I lost the bet, so I think I came out even, but I've still got marks all over the place. Thank you, that's good. That's good. So I don't have a script to talk about. They called me, when I was a mayor, they called me the unfiltered mayor. So I start talking about stuff that comes to my mind. And sometimes I veer off this way, and sometimes I veer off that way. And if I upset anybody, I don't mean to, but some things that come out of my mouth sometimes because I don't think about it before it comes out. You know how that happens sometimes. So, but thanks for letting me come here. I love veterans. I am a veteran, 20 years and 20 minutes in the United States Army. I came from an Air Force family. I was an Air Force brat and moved all over the world for that. And then I loved the Air Force so much I joined the Army. I did 10 years in the States and I did 10 years out of the States. I spent most of the time, like Patty said, I was 8 years in the 82nd Airborne. I did 2 different tours. I went there as a second lieutenant, stayed there 4 years, went to Korea 1 year, came right back, and did my command time. Then I did 2 years of purgatory. I was a recruiter for 2 years. Man, I tell you, you can do any job in the military if you don't have to do recruiter. People, you know, my filter won't be working, so I'll just try something else. And then I did a year and a half in Saudi Arabia. I did Bosnia, Germany, back and forth. I was going there, coming back, going there. Then I did, right after 9/11, I got sent to Uzbekistan, which is right across the river from Afghanistan. 9/11 happened, and then 2 weeks later, I find myself in Uzbekistan. Kind of happened pretty quickly. Then stayed over there, between there and then when the Iraq War kicked off, they wanted me to go to Kuwait and kick off the Iraq War. And so I ended up staying 600 days. When you're in the Army, they give you hash marks for each tour, 6 months. It was one long tour. I didn't come home and then go back and go. But I stayed 600 days. And I thought that was my one tour. They said, no, that's 3 tours. But I did it back to back. I just stayed over the whole time. And my wife thought I'd abandoned her. My kids forgot who I was. But we had email. Even in 2001, 2002, relatively new to kids, I think. And so we did homework on email, and I had a chance to get in there and get access to it. I had a satellite phone that I wasn't supposed to use for certain things, and I just, I gotta go training. I gotta go train some people. And so let me show you how to call my house. So you do like this. Oh, we'll call your house after this for training. So I got to call home every once in a while. Felt bad for some people who didn't, but that's just the way it was sometimes. You take what you get. So I stayed over there that long and came home. Geez. Seems like, so I retired in 2005. And loved the military. I thought I was going to stay another 10 years, but my mother watches too much TV and she was crying all the time. And my wife watches too much TV and she wasn't getting any help at home with taking the kids to dance and soccer and all that kind of stuff. And the stuff was falling apart at the house. And, it was just inevitable. It was just time. So I retired after 20 years and 20 minutes. And I lived at TVK. Met my wife through the Army. She wasn't a soldier. She was a civilian. I swore I'd never marry a civilian, but I did. She was on a barge. She was in Paris. I was living in Germany. I went to Paris one time by myself because nobody else wanted to do anything. And walked and get a beer someplace and heard this accent. And I said, my God, lady, where are you from? She said, South Carolina. I bet you are. And so we just started talking over a couple of beers. We probably started exaggerating. I probably looked better than I really did. So we started having this long overseas relationship. She'd come over, fly over to Germany. I flew over here and got stationed as close as I could was Atlanta, and that's where I was when the 9/11 kicked off. So that was kind of my little brief history. I taught school for a while, didn't like that. It's got even worse with the discipline we were just talking about. Got into politics completely by accident. TK used to be a really nice little cozy little place to live. And they started building houses, and there was a 700 house project over here, and a 600 housing project over here, and a 400 housing project over there. And it used to, you know, I used to be able to get, so from TK up to 160, down 160 would take 10 minutes. It was taking 50 minutes. And so I started rearranging my plan to go to the Harris Teeter. I said, I can't go at 8 o'clock between 8 and 9, and I can't go between 3 and 5 because it'll take me 2 hours because 160 is a parking lot. And so somebody said, well, we got to do something about it. I said, yeah, you guys, why don't you run for something to fix this? And they were all working, and I was retired, and I said, you're the man. So I ran, and I won. And I thought, now what? It was kind of like the chase, you know, you old guys know when you're chasing a girlfriend, your woman, you're chasing the thrill of the hunt, you know, and then when you land, it's like, now what? You know, so here I was, now I'm a city council person, I'm like, now what? So I actually had to go do stuff, and then I ran for mayor 2 years later, and the whole time I was mayor, we didn't allow one single house. So for 4 years, TK did not build one single house. And then when I turned 65, I said I'm going to retire. And so I didn't run this year. So January 1st of 2022, 1 year ago, I was done with it. And the new mayor and the guy said, we're not going to build any houses either. And then they did. Something happens to you when you get up there, people start talking to you, and they started building 200 houses here and 300 houses here. So anyway, that's kind of the way it goes. So, but thanks for having me. I always enjoy hanging around with veterans. It's one of my favorite groups to hang around with. My other favorite groups are my high school friends. You know, you grow up with guys and you did stuff when you were 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You'll never forget because you've got these secrets you're going to take to your grave. And we used to sneak in each other's house at night, and we used to go play ball, and we played video games. We had Pong. You remember Pong? We don't have the cool stuff like they got now. We had Pong. Wow, that's cool, you know. You know, remote controls. You know who's the remote control in my family? Me. I was the remote control. We had 3 channels, maybe 4. We had ABC, CBS, NBC, and an independent. You know, now they got, and TV was good back then. I thought, man, I couldn't wait to go home and watch stuff. And now they've got 500 channels of crap. You know, I thought, why do I have to pay for all 500 channels? I only watch 3 channels. But that's just the way things are now. So I go home to Fort Worth, Texas. My mother, still with us. She's 87 years old. She just got a speeding ticket. So my sister, where we grew up, called the cops and said, "You mean give an 87-year-old woman a speeding ticket?" I said, "Well, I didn't want to, but I'd given her 3 warnings before this." So I flew home, and we took her car away from her. And I said, you know what? This kind of vaguely reminds me of 40, 50 years ago when you took away my car. When I got a speeding ticket. Payback something, isn't it? And so, but she said she knew it was time. She really couldn't see at night. So she still flies out and sees me every once in a while. She's got 4 great grandchildren that live in Somerville. My niece married a Navy guy. So he's there. So I was going to talk about young kids now. We were talking about earlier about schools, no discipline. You got kids now that never have been outside of America. They hate America. They carry Apple phones, they've got nice clothes, and they hate America. Why do they hate America? Is there something they're learning in school? There's no respect. And you see all the protests going on. And why are they protesting? I think, you know, and I'm not for the draft, because when we had the draft, you had a couple first sergeant first classes in the Army that had to babysit people who didn't want to be there, and they were taken away from the training they should be doing. So not for the draft. I think I'm raise the pay where it's competitive, where people want to join, and make it very hard to get in, and make it very easy to get out. But if you go overseas, and maybe it's different in London and Paris, but if you go to the places we had to go, we don't ever get to go to the good spots. We go to the crap spots. You can see where those people live. There wouldn't be anybody protesting. They got it made here. They get good meals, shelter. I'll just tell you a real quick story. If I go too long, you got to start waiting, okay? But when I was in Uzbekistan, that was September So 9/11, September 11th, I got there 2 weeks later, so about September 24th, 25th. We landed in a place called Karshi Karnabad in Uzbekistan. We called it K2. It was a big MiG base that we were renting from the Uzbeks. It used to be a Russian MiG base. And we didn't have anything there. We had MREs to eat. And kids, we couldn't stand MREs. If it was the first time you ever had an MRE, I used to take MREs when I taught school, and kids would like it. Oh, this is really cool. Yeah, eat that and eat nothing but that for 10, 15, 20, 30 days. And you don't like it. They clog you up. It's just terrible. So we didn't have all the equipment that we needed, so we got authorized to go off the base and buy materials we could find. Plywood, nails, hammer, things like that to make it more comfortable to live there, because all the C-17s that were coming in were carrying ammunition and helicopter parts and everything but food. They had MREs, they didn't have nails and hammers, so we go off base, and I had a driver translator. He was from Tashkent. He wasn't from around there. Tashkent was a 6-hour drive. That's the capital of Uzbekistan. And we bought our stuff on the way back. He said, "Do you mind if I stop? I'm going to buy some bread." Go ahead. And he stopped. He comes out and about 2 loaves of bread. It was kind of like a medium-sized pizza. It was flat, maybe 2 inches tall. It was October. It was kind of cold. And he reaches in that bag and pulls out a piece of this bread, and I could see the steam coming off that bread and the smell. I was like, man, that was good. I said, "You mind if I have a piece of that?" He said, "Help yourself." So I reached in that bread. I was like, man, you know how fresh this bread tastes. I mean, any bread in any country is great. And I've been eating MREs for 2 weeks. I'm like, oh my God, this is something. I said, "You mind if we go back? Can I get some more bread?" He said, "Well, you might not have any more." So we turned around and went back. And they only make 10 loaves a day for the whole town there. It was just a really bad shack. You probably wouldn't buy anything from it because it was so nasty in there. But I got somebody 10 loaves of bread. And after I did the exchange rate, it was 10 for $1. 10 loaves of bread for $1. I needed like $3. She's like, my driver said, no, don't do that. Don't do that. She'll expect it every time. I said, I don't care. Give her $3. So brought it back to my shelter, and all the guys were in there. Smell that bread, man. That's amazing. Can we get some more? I asked the guy, can we go tomorrow and get some more? He said, I don't know if I'm going on, but the next day we did. Went back in there and I said, can I get 20 loaves? And she said, okay, but not today, tomorrow. So I paid her in advance, went back the next day, I had 20 loaves and brought it back. And everybody was coming to my shelter. We had what do you call a mill van, Patty? It's like a metal shelter on the back of the truck. They just drop it. It's a metal, I don't know what you call it. You guys know what Connex? What's it?
The Connex.
The Connex, there you go, the Connex. We were living and working on the Connex. And all the people when they were eating this bread, they were like, oh, and it's like a drug deal. People come by and say, hey, you got bread? Can I get a loaf of bread? Don't tell anybody. I paid $3 for 10 loaves. And I was selling for 2 loaves for $1. So I felt like I was making some money on this thing, But I couldn't go off base to do it every time because I had a job to do. But every time the guy would go off, so I told him, hey, go back. I went back the next time and I told the lady, can I get 40 loaves? She's like, oh man, I don't do that much. So I paid her in advance. And I said, I won't be back tomorrow, but I'll be back the day after that. So I went back the next day, I got 40 loaves, and I said, can I have 40 more? And I'll come back the day after. And this went on for about 2 or 3 weeks. And so after a while, I went back and I walked in and she had cleaned up, she had a new dress, and she hired somebody else. But there was lights, like she could afford a light bulb now, so she had a couple of lights in there. And I was like, wow, this is really, because when I went there the first time, it was really dreary, and now it's very nice. She was experiencing American capitalism. She knew what capitalism was now. And she completely changed her appearance and hired somebody. So I had to go to Tashkent for a week. Now I'm like, well, how many of this bread? So I said, anybody else going to town? Nobody would go except for my driver. He would get 40 loaves, every other day. He was feeding the whole camp. When I get back from Tashkent, I got summoned by the base commander. 11 o'clock at night, base commander wants to see you. So I walk over there, and Command Sergeant Major says, oh, he's going to tell you no more bread. You can't buy bread. I said, why not? He goes, well, because could be a terrorist attack. You go over there right in the same car at the same time. There's going to be somebody waiting for you. They're going to kidnap you, or they're going to kill you or something, or they're going to poison the food, and everybody on the base is going to get sick, and then we won't be able to do our mission. it makes sense. So, that's going to be kind of a bummer. So, for the last time I went out the next day, I was just going to give her all the Uzbek money I had. It was, I think the exchange rate was 2,000 to the dollar. So if you gave me $20, you got a stack of money this size. It was like 400,000, whatever their money's called, the coom or the calm or whatever it is. And you were walking around your pants sticking like this and walking with all this money. So I wasn't a drug dealer, I was a bread dealer. So I told her, I walked in there and she had hired another person. So there was 2 people working there. It was well lit up, lights were good, and clean tables. And she got her hair done, and it was just really sweet. And when I walked in, the bags had ribbons on it, little bows that she made for us. There was 50 loaves there waiting for us. And so I had to tell her through my translator, we can't do this anymore. And then have the guts to tell her why. I said, we're all getting transferred. We're going to Afghanistan, and we won't be here. And she just looked at me, and just kind of, her tears kind of cried. I just felt, I didn't know what to say to her. Here we just changed her whole life. I mean, the average income in Uzbekistan was $60 US a month. And she was making at least that off of us. I mean, she was probably doing 10 loaves of bread every couple of days, and now she was doing 60 to 50 loaves of bread every other day just for us. And she knew what American capitalism was about, and she knew what America was like, and she was just loved us. And then I had to leave her right there just boom. So if young kids could go experience that, they wouldn't be protesting. They wouldn't be saying America's terrible. She didn't have a cell phone. She lived in a room right behind her little bakery thing. I just felt bad. I've been thinking about that for the last 20 years. Whenever it happened to her. And I thought she was an old lady. I thought she was 60 or 70 years old. Come to find out, I was 40 at the time. She was 40 just like I was. But it's such a hard life over there that they just age. So they don't have clean water. So you can imagine what kind of bread we were eating, with the water now. So our neighbor was right. I just hated that had to happen that way. Okay, so let me talk about what we do in Colombia. And I promise it'll be 5 more minutes. I saw somebody yawning there. Let me talk about what we're doing in Colombia. So we did last week, we pre-filed all our bills. We go down there and make laws and change laws and try to make life better for everybody, to include ourselves. And you always say, those people in Colombia aren't doing a damn thing. Well, you'll find out sooner or later, I guess. You'll either dislike me just like everybody else, or we get something done. So this is all veterans related at first, and I'm going to just talk about a couple of bills I pre-filed. Last year, the big thing was you're no longer paying taxes on your military retirement pay. You all know about that, right? So if you make military retirement pay, you've been paying tax on it. You got the first $3,500 as deductible or something, $10,000 or so. But now it's completely 100% tax free. So that was the big thing. There's a business apprenticeship tax incentive that was passed last year. If you're looking for a job and you have to be trained, they give the employer a $3,000 tax credit if he will train you for the first year. The second year, you get $2,500 tax credit. The third year, $1,000 tax credit. So there's an incentive to hire veterans. This year, we have pre-filed a couple of bills. H3116, if you become a disabled vet, 100% disabled vet, you get the tax deduction immediately in the year that you don't have to wait till the next year. Usually you had to file to let the county know, and they said, okay, it starts in January. Now it starts the year you get that you have experienced the disability. So that's going to give me that. And passed yet, we're working on it. We were talking about earlier the H3033, the assault and battery of certain public defendants, of certain public servants, which is enhanced charges if you assault a public service official. If you attack a policeman, if you attack a fireman, EMS, nursing like that, of course it was always assault, but now they're enhanced. You're going to jail, and you're not going to get bail. Something's going to happen to you, not just a revolving door where you come back out. If you hit a policeman or a fireman, you're going to get the charge to be elevated, and you're going to jail. The sentence will be harder. Here's my favorite one. I did this one, co-sponsored it. The property tax exemption. There's 100%, and it hasn't passed yet, so don't get too excited, but we're going to be discussing 100% tax exemption on all property tax once you hit 80 years old. So, why isn't it 65? Why isn't it 70? Why is it 75? Because that's what you get down and you start arguing with everybody. And then you got the municipalities that come in, no, we can't afford that, we can't do this. Okay, how about 70? No, I can't do that, can't do that. Okay, how about 75? And you start, there's 124 of us down there. So we're going to start with 80. If you've lived in your house 5 years and you pay taxes for at least 5 years, when you hit 80 years old, you don't have to pay any more taxes. It's done. And to me, that makes so much sense. And if it passes maybe a couple of years from now, we'll whittle it down to 77 and 75 and whatever we can do. But we have to do the 5 years because people are saying, well, if a millionaire or billionaire moves in from Florida, he buys a house, he doesn't have to pay taxes. Well, no, he's got to pay at least 5 years. So if you move into your house when you're 82 years old, you got to wait till you're 87. You got to pay taxes on for 5 years. But if you lived in your house all your life, you've been there forever, the day you get 80, tax-free. I think that should be able to pass. Homestead exemption, currently right now when you hit 65, your homestead exemption is $50,000. You don't pay tax on the first $50,000 of your home. We're going to try to move that up to $100,000. And then the good one, my favorite, term limits. We'll see how far that goes. Age 32, 49, and 50, we're trying to put term limits on people like me. I'm 60. I'm going to term limit my God's going to term limit me, for God's sake. But you don't get up there, you don't park your butt up there for 20, 30 years and make all these laws, and you don't have to go out there and experience them. And believe me, they don't do it for the money. I'm going to make $10,400 a year. So we're not doing it for the money. The good thing I have a pension, otherwise I wouldn't be able to afford it. And whenever we were looking for somebody to do this job before I took it, I talked to 3 or 4 people and said, would you please run? Because I'm retiring. I don't want to do this anymore. No, I can't. They don't pay enough money. I can't raise a family this way. Or I can't afford it because my job won't let me off 3 days a week, or on and on and on and on. But people still do it. They get up there and stay there for 20, 30 years, and we're going to make sure that doesn't happen. So it's going to be for so the governor already is going to do 2 terms. House is going to be 4 terms. I think the Senate is 3 terms. But that's where you start arguing. We'll see what happens from there. I've always been an advocate of 8, 10, 12, 20, which is 8 for the executive, whether it be the president or the governor, 10 for the House, 12 for the Senate, and then 20 for Supreme Court. Our Supreme Courts can't serve past 72 years old, so they're already term limited. And they do a 10-year term. So once they hit 72, they can't do it anymore. So I just want, that's all I got for you. I just want to give you, if you ever want to know what's going on down in Columbia, you can Google my name, David O'Neill. You have to spell it right. O-N-E-A-L, not O-N-E-I-L, not O-N-E-I-L-L. And it'll take you to my house page. And there's on the right column, there's a button that says Sponsored Bills. These are the bills that I sponsored. And it says, that I sponsored or co-sponsored. Just hit the no. That means you're not looking for a specific bill. Spit out everything that I'm sponsoring. And then you can find out what the status is. And you might have it, if you don't live in TDK, Mason's Bend, Baxter Village, I'm not your representative, but you still find out what's going on. You might have Brandon Guffey over here, or who else would be over here? Ray Felder is over in Fort Mill. Same, you find the same way. You find out what's going on. But if you ever have questions, my cell phone number is listed. I don't try to hide it. I don't try to say, call my office, and then you get a voicemail and maybe call you back or not. But I'm on the floor, obviously can't call, but you can ask Patty. When I was mayor, I answered every phone. When they called me, it's tough to answer the phone sometimes, but if I can't answer the phone right away, I'll call you back. 24 hours, I promise. Okay? Well, that's all I got. So thank you very much for your time.